This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop Black Friday week starting November 21st.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
From Wall Street to the White House, this is the Larry Kudlow Show.
So let's talk some politics. We've got Dave Webb, Fox News contributor, Sirius XM talk show host. And we got Roger Stone, longtime political consultant and host of WABC Radio's The Roger Stone Show, which is Sundays, 3 to 6 p.m. on many of these very same stations. Gentlemen, welcome. Roger Stone, I want to start with you. This wonderful article was in the Washington Times. FBI brass stunned and shell-shocked over Trump re-election. I mean, this is too good to be true. The brass on the 7th floor at FBI headquarters in Washington are walking around in a daze and wary of a house cleaning since President-elect Donald Trump won his re-election on Tuesday, according to inside sources. Roger, I should think so, huh? What do you think about that one?
Yeah, there can almost be no higher priority. I mean, as one who has been victim of, a targeted justice system where I did nothing whatsoever wrong other than be for Donald Trump, cleaning out the Justice Department, cleaning out the FBI, not putting in our people, putting in people committed to the rule of law, putting in people who are committed to fairness and integrity, has to be one of the president's highest priorities. So it's music to my ears, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I should think so. Yeah, and really music to all our ears because this was the same crowd, David Webb, that crashed into Mar-a-Lago. Remember that? And what was that, the summer of 22 or the summer of 23? I can't even remember now.
23.
23. Okay. And that whole thing, I mean, what's so incredible is it's suddenly, magically, with a landslide victory, it's all being dropped. So it's all being dropped for political election reasons, which means it was all political in the first place, which means they never had a case, which means the guy Jack Smith wasn't even supposed to be where he was anyway. The case was dropped by this Eileen Cannon. I don't know, she'd probably make a good attorney general. But David Webb, it just shows you this whole aspect of the election. There's a lot of good things to talk about. But this aspect of the landslide election, as Roger just said, I don't want vindictiveness. Trump's not talking about vindictiveness. He's talking about fairness. The law should apply equally, fairly, right? Not weaponizationally or lawfarely.
Well, he's fixing it. And I think it's really important that people pay attention to what the now president-elect said in the waning days of the election, that it's about fixing things that they broke. They broke the FBI. I have a lot of friends who've been in the FBI, good friends, people who are professionals at different levels, at higher levels, and they don't like what's going on. They're there to do a job, and the left would have you believe it's at the bidding of a president. It's not. The agency's supposed to operate under the laws. It has an important mandate to protect us here and abroad from cybercrime, from so many other things, intelligence-related, proper intelligence activities, that it should be independent and effective. And that's what Donald Trump is talking about, a working bureau. not a partisan bureau under a Merrick Garland or a Joe Biden administration that now, as you said, they magically want to drop everything. But there's another fear here that we're hearing from some whistleblowers, and we've seen this develop over time, and I know Roger's seen this, that eventually the information is there. And I would say preservation of records is something that the Trump administration should make sure they have done rather than the destruction of records, which we have seen.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, I'm assuming, Roger, that it's the Washington office that's poison here. I don't know that the field offices around the country are as weaponized and biased as the Washington office. They're like the political people. They're the left-wing people.
Larry, I'm not sure that's true. I mean, the raid on my home, which is indefensible because I have no criminal record and I was charged with a bogus white-collar crime, had they merely contacted my attorney, I would, of course, turned myself in. But it was approved by the head of the Miami Bureau, who should have known better. Cost the taxpayers $1.1 million, that raid. And my wife still has PTSD when things go bump in the night. So, no, unfortunately, I think it's at the leadership levels. It's not among the agent levels. The day my house was raided, agents were the 29 FBI agents who stormed my home in full SWAT gear, brandishing M4 assault weapons. They were winking at me. They were rolling their eyes. I mean, they knew this was illicit. They were following orders.
Right.
So I'm afraid the rock goes to the leadership level, and yes, that does extend to some of the branch offices.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And unfortunately, Larry, if I may quickly, Roger's absolutely right. I can give you another clear example. The raid on Rudy Giuliani's New York apartment. They took everything but one thing. What did they not take? The copy of the McIsaac hard drive, the Hunter Biden laptop. They know what they're doing at some levels, or the targeting of Catholics out of the Richmond office. So this does require a deeper dive.
Is the same thing, you could take out the word FBI, the phrase FBI, and put in the phrase CIA or DNI, the intelligence community too? Is it going to require house cleaning there, too?
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, what they've done over the years, whether from the NSC on down, and what they tried to stop President Trump from doing with Robert O'Brien, trying to clean out NSC and other areas, I remember those meetings, they need to get rid of the people who are weaponizing it. Think of the 51 so-called experts who signed the letter, the disinformation, who pushed this. Think of Brennan and Clapper. Think of all the people who have perverted what we need, which is good intelligence gathering, whether human, signal, SIGINT intelligence, or otherwise. We need it to function properly because the country's at risk here, but they chose to lie in some cases.
Yeah, so on this other point, suddenly after the election, we learn that Iran put a contract killer out to assassinate now President Trump, President-elect Trump. Roger Stone, it's an odd thing. Why didn't they mention this before the election?
Well, they did announce that the Iranians had sought to hack into the personal email accounts of a number of Trump associates. I am allegedly among them. By the way, there's nothing in my email even remotely interesting other than where I buy my shirts. But, it is the entire system needs to be cleaned out top to bottom. And I think the president, who I saw at Mar-a-Lago last night, he was in great spirits. I think he completely understands that.
Yeah, well, big changes have to come. On the positive side, well, all this is positive. I shouldn't say that. But David Webb, the speech he gave, the victory speech he gave Tuesday night, I know it was late at night or early in the morning, but there were some phenomenal themes there. Among them, promises made, promises kept. David Webb, a landslide like this is an enormous mandate for change. I mean, the country wants change. wants to get out of the woke, big government, socialism, progressive yoke of the Biden-Harris administration. Promises made, promises kept. Mr. Trump said that several times, David Webb. It's a welcome change.
It's beyond a welcome change, Larry. I would add another word to this, which is restoration. We want to restore America's path, right? We want this country working for everyone, especially for the people who are on the lower rungs of the economic ladder that you and I have talked about for years, that we actually want to help. Pro-growth economic policies, right? Proper trade balances. We have markets that need to work. We have industries. We have small businesses that need to grow. And the results of the first Trump administration demonstrated that. You've talked about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, how the revenue side paid it off. The fact that we need to do these things that give people back their power rather than hand their money, their power, and everything over to government decisions and government mandates and special interests. And that's really the hallmark of America, when the people have the choice, that we control the government, that they work for us. And Donald Trump has said that since day one. He has said to Congress, you do your job. You were there, Larry. You remember this. He has said to the people, this is what we need to do to create the conditions so you can decide what you want to do. And he has said to business, you need a better environment, lower tax rates, regulations are necessary, but not over-regulation. These are the things that will create the conditions for a restoration of America. And, go back to that Reagan question, which, my friend Michael called me literally after the election was won and said, we're back. We're doing this, and it's America. It's mourning in America. The only ones mourning, mourning, are the left, who are planning their own insurrection against an incoming president.
David, did you know Roger Stone he's as old a supply-sider as I am, as we are. Roger Stone, we could start telling Jack Kemp stories on this radio broadcast. The late, great Jack Kemp.
One of the great guys.
Roger Stone, did you start with Kemp?
Oh, I, of course, started with Nixon.
No, but Nixon wasn't a supply-sider.
And lamented his single greatest mistake, closing the gold window, which I've written about numerous times.
There you go.
Yeah, Jack Kemp was my guy. I supported him over Bush in 1988, and I was totally swept up in the supply-side revolution. It is, I think, a golden opportunity. Actually, I think we're going to have a golden age here, an unprecedented age of peace and prosperity and equal opportunity and fairness. We need to get back to fairness. President Trump's going to tackle the affordable housing problem. It's a huge problem in this country, one that I give Robert Kennedy credit for actually identifying and putting on the map. Trump, a builder, he's going to fix the affordable housing problem in this country. I think we're looking for ahead to what will be one of the greatest periods in our history. But imagine the stress, just for 1 second, of knowing in one day, by the end of the night, most likely, you know that you are either going to have an opportunity to go down with presidents like Lincoln and Washington and Roosevelt and Reagan as among our greatest presidents, or you're going to die in a dank federal jail cell. You're having been stripped of everything you owned, including your dignity. Who else could operate under that kind of stress but the toughest guy I know, Donald Trump?
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, but the golden age of America, that was one of his big lines in the last week or two. She's calling him a fascist and a Hitlerite, and he's talking about the golden age of America. Guess which one won? The golden age of America wins every time. Tax cutters beat tax hikers. Anyway, we've got a lot more to talk about. It's great fun. David Webb, Fox News contributor, famed Sirius XM talk show host, and Roger Stone, just famed in general, and presently host of WABC Radio's The Roger Stone Show, Sundays, 3 to 6 p.m. on many of these same stations. I'm the infamed Kudlow. We'll be right back.
Larry Kudlow. From Wall Street to the White House, this is the Larry Kudlow Show.
We are talking politics. David Webb, Fox News contributor, Sirius XM talk show host, and Roger Stone, who's now the host of WABC Radio's The Roger Stone Show, Sundays, 3 to 6 p.m. on many of these same radio stations. Gentlemen, very kind of you on a Saturday. You know, coming back to this this business about straight shooting, fair judicial system for a change. Actually, John Katzimatidis sent me a text. Soros DAs suffered 12 big defeats. I know that the guy in Los Angeles lost, David Webb. I don't know whether you followed this story or not. But I think it was a good Tuesday was a very good night for law and order, and a very bad night for the far left George Soros crowd here. And I mean, besides throwing out Jack Smith, all these weaponizations against Trump, but also just ordinary law and order. I mean, really, let criminals be in the lockup for a while.
Look, this has started and been an effective effort, Larry, since 2015 with Soros and the Tides Foundation. Initially, they put $13 million. They've spent many times that right now, or since then, to get these judges and DAs in office. Gascon in L.A., who was one of the architects of one of the propositions that opened the floodgates that Kamala Harris couldn't even say she voted against or for when she was asked about it, is why we have these problems. You look at Kim Fox, you look at now Kim Gardner, who's gone in St. Louis County, the county prosecutor. You go across the board, and what you find are judges and DAs. Larry Krasner, look at Philadelphia, and look at the failures. The winners here are the people, because if you bring back law and order, then not only can people walk the streets more safely, not only can your grandmother, your mother, or your son go to the grocery store, but also businesses stay. And in order to have the environment for growth, right, more growth, better communities, you don't need business deserts where companies leave, where a Walgreens closes, where a Walmart closes, where a small business, a bodega closes. We have got to have these conditions combined for this restoration of America. And this is an important fact. The people of America, and this is evidenced in the popular vote especially, they rejected this leftist lurch. They rejected the decades of failure. And I hope more and more people wake up in every community, regardless of ethnicity, and realize that they have been lied to, they have been failed, and we're not done yet. We've got to go after the education system, make sure we give people a good education, because if you have a job you want, but you don't have the education, you're not going to get it.
You know, Rogers, you were talking earlier about Rudy Giuliani, our good friend Rudy Giuliani. Rudy used to always say when Rudy came in as mayor, he used to always say that if you restore public safety, stop the crimes, that's like a tax cut, because it gives a chance for businesses, especially small business, especially new business, to open safely. And that was his first order of business, and then eventually he did cut taxes. But I think this is a very positive development that these Soros DAs got whooped in this election. Very positive.
Well, it's only logical. If people think they're going to get hit over the head or have their wallet or their purse stolen, they're not going to go to the store. I mean, it's really quite simple. It's the same thing as Trump understanding that low energy prices, drill baby drill, is the cornerstone of a vibrant economy. Combine that then with tax cuts and regulatory cuts, and we're going to have the most robust economy in our history. He did it in his first term. We know, therefore, that he can do it again, even bigger, in his second term.
I never understood, speaking of that, you got all these I understand the liberal journalists, but Wall Street keeps saying that Trump's program of tax cuts and deregulation and drill baby drill and tariffs tariff negotiations to stop unfair trading practices. How does that get to be inflationary? I mean, I see it as solid growth. I mean, if it was going to be inflationary, it would have been inflationary in the first term because that was basically the same policy. I mean, he had $350 billion worth of tariffs on China. Who suffered the most? China, because they had to cut their prices and their margins. Didn't cause inflation here. There was virtually no inflation during Mr. Trump's first term. We're going to talk more about that as the show goes on. But, you mentioned it. I mean, these are classic supply-side policies. That's what they are.
These are the same people who told us that if we elected Donald Trump president in 2016, the stock market would crash and we would immediately go into World War III.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we had a record stock market in his first presidency, and the folks who have skated closer to World War III, Donald Trump started no new wars and brought back tens of thousands of troops to the Middle East without the countries they were leaving collapsing behind them.
Dow Jones up 1,937 points after Mr. Trump was reelected. I'd say that's a pretty good welcome. David Webb, thank you ever so much. Roger Stone, thanks. Folks, take a quick break and then talk some on the economy with John Carney of Breitbart on the other side.
Eden Memorial Chapels understands Jewish funerals can take many forms. Some are Orthodox, while others are more conservative or of a Reformed nature. There's no one better. With services close to all New York and New Jersey cemeteries, Eden Memorial Chapels offer fair and balanced pricing and can provide easy transfer of you and your loved ones to Israel. While you're grieving, they're here to take care of all the details so that you deal with less bureaucracy and have more peace of mind. Go to EdenMemorial.com. That's EdenMemorial.com.